Kirsty, warm thanks. Lovely to see you all. I can see the numbers rising and rising. I never stop getting excited when I see those numbers rise. So welcome everybody to today's Positively Purple Strategic Forum meeting. It's the first of the strategic forums this year and so kindly sponsored by our headline sponsor, Novartis, and our supporting partners at Tesco. A quick audio description. I'm a white woman with auburn hair that covers some grey flecks. And today I am wearing a kind of mauvey type blouse with some pearls as a necklace. And I'm dialing in from Mumbles in South Wales in the UK, not known for its sunshine. However, I think Ray over in the States has been sending us a few rays. Do you see what I did there? So we've got some sunshine here on the south coast of Wales. I am delighted to see so many of you attending. We have a very packed agenda today. We've got some fantastic speakers and just 1 hour. So we've tried to design the agenda in a way that's got something for everyone. So whether you've been part of the Positively Purple movement from the get-go or whether you are new to the movement, I think we will have something that will delight. By way of introduction, so very quickly, as Kirsty said, I founded both Purple Space and the Positively Purple movement. I'm today joined with my very dear colleagues. We have Brendan Roach and we have Sally Owen, and we also have Kirsty Wilson with us today. And I suppose obviously I know so many of you. I'm going to be looking at who's joined us in a moment and saying hi in the chat room. And I do encourage you to jump into that chat box, tell us who you are, tell us where you come from, and maybe tell us perhaps how you've leveraged the Positively Purple movement in the past. So well, I will jump into that in the moment, but I can see some of the names and it's good to have you with us. In terms of my role, I've been associated with Purple Space from the get-go. And until recently, I carried the role of Chief Executive. However, last month, after 8 years at the helm, who's counting? However, I transferred the ownership of Purple Space to the phenomenal organisation Scope, and I stood down as Chief Executive. We now have 2 phenomenal, I can see the love hearts coming in. Let's keep them coming. We have 2 phenomenal managing directors in Brendan and Sally. And now my head is very firmly towards my writing. You will see, fingers crossed, more books being launched at a bookshop near you. Fingers crossed, she said, no pressure. But I suppose, I'm going to be causing mischief, working for Purple Space 8 days a month, and particularly working with our key partners, our futurist partners, as well as our strategic projects, and hopefully have the time to meet with many more of our members as I have hitherto been able to do. So we're going to have a wee bit of fun in the future. But as part of that, I've also very, I suppose, graciously agreed to accept the role as chair of this particular forum. Obviously, as a movement, it has meant so much to me. And so you'll be seeing me a little bit more as we chair these forums. Obviously, it's been a month of transition, but I did want to use this opportunity to, share on behalf of the whole team just how blown away we have been by your dear and very kind comments about this transition period. Your kindest words mean a lot to me and the team, and so we thank you for that. And we should expect some very special things under Brendan and Sally's leadership, and also your comments about how, I suppose, the degree of fit between Purple Space and Scope. So many of you have chimed in to say how that is a natural fit. So at some stage you will meet with the Chief Executive, Mark Hodgkinson, and indeed some of the trustees who also happen to be members and come from member companies. So in terms of, it's going to be the same old, same brand, standalone organisation, doing the things that we're known to do, but we'll also have the support of a great organisation. So we're looking to go further, to go faster, and to grow as we have done over the last 8 years. So coming back to today, so no further ado, let's come back to the Positively Purple movement. What's its core purpose? Threefold. So one, it's a global movement that celebrates and draws attention to the contribution of employees with disabilities around the world. The focus there being on celebration. As we know, so many organisations and agencies, indeed consultancies, sometimes even politicians, will position our lives purely negatively. And so Positively Purple is the antidote to that, the very necessary antidote. Secondly, it connects disability ERG leaders around the world. It builds disability confidence from the inside out, supports organisations to learn directly from their own people, and in effect is a great big annual get together. So I know so many of you join in both virtually, in videos and so on. So we're looking forward to hear how you're going to do more of that. And then lastly, it's our mark of respect to the United Nations International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Our friends at ILO draw on the support, not just our members, but other organisations around the world. So while you'll hear us maybe share the theme, our desire to build the Positively Purple movement is as much a mark of respect to the United Nations International Day as it is anything else. So what else? I wanted to share our quick objectives for this particular meeting. We're up to 79. I love it. So Kirsty, if I could ask you just to share that slide. I know we were having a little trouble with the slides earlier. Marvellous. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear an overview of Positively Purple 2024. I'm going to turn to Steffi, our wonderful Steffi from Novartis in a moment. So after that, I will turn to Brendan and he will give us an overview of what we're looking to achieve this year. We're going to then together co-create the standards for communicating about disability ERG leadership in our professional profiles. I'm really excited by this. I see some of you do this extraordinarily well. And the question I've been holding in my head, what would happen if you were all to be encouraged and could, I know not every organisation can, but be a little bit more out and loud and proud about your own leadership roles as ERG leaders. So that's what we're going to do. As I say, huge thanks to our sponsors, Novartis, and our supporting partner, Tesco. We've also got Russ, who's going to speak in a moment too, who they're both powering this movement, and we so enjoy their trust in us. Steffi, I want to bring you into the room, if I may. We're absolutely thrilled, as you know, that we're collaborating with you once again. Could you perhaps share with our audience, what was it about supporting Positively Purple last year that made you and your colleagues want to go again? What was it that we did? What is it you're getting by way of impact? Maybe you could share with our friends today.
Absolutely, Kate. I'll just quickly introduce myself visually. So I'm a white transgender woman, early 50s, shoulder length brown hair, also covering some grey wisps, and I'm wearing glasses and a purple shirt, I think, which is quite fitting today. So why did Novartis decide that we wanted to step in and really sponsor Positively Purple this year again? I mean, last year we had a whole lot of fun with it. Let's be clear, but at the end of the day, it really supports us in hammering home two of the pillars of our disability equity strategy, which are namely informing and involving. So the whole inform piece is, it's all about raising awareness of disability inside Novartis, so that our people, our employees, start to understand and engage and talk about disability in the workplace. But also, when we do crazy stuff like lighting buildings purple and having events around Positively Purple, that really it really serves as a visual reminder of our commitments externally as well. So we talk a lot about what we want to do. This is our opportunity as well to showcase a little bit more about the commitments that we've made in the space around disability. And then the second pillar that we really support with Positively Purple is involve. So it's all about highlighting the great work that the ERGs do around the world. We have a growing network now of disability and neurodiversity ERGs. I came into this role 2 years ago, just on 2 years ago, not knowing too much about disability, to be fair. And the ERGs have been great. They've taken me under their wing. They've explained to me so much about what it is to have a disability in the workplace, how it is to be neurodiverse in the workplace, and what are their needs. How can I, in my role, and the wider DE&I community, how can we serve them to build a workplace which is fitting for people with disabilities to thrive and have a great career. So yeah, those two pieces are just wonderful, and Positively Purple just bounds out with all that energy and all of that commitment and that global awareness. So yeah, really happy that we're sponsoring again this year, and I'm really hoping that it continues for many years as well.
Wonderful, Steffi. I predict we're going to break the Tinternet this year. You heard it here first, as well as LinkedIn. However, Steffi, thank you for that. You share that sense of excitement and the way in which you leverage the movement both internally as well as support the external global growth of ERG leaders. It's wonderful stuff. So I'm going to come to your good self, Brendan. So Brendan is one of our new MDs. Everybody knows you, Brendan. You don't need too much introduction. But Brent, I wonder if you would now take us through the core of the day. And of course, I'm around. I'll be chatting with folks in the chat box. You can bring me in as and when. Brendan, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Steffi. Yeah, look, Kate, absolutely delighted that you've accepted this role of chair of the Positively Purple Strategic Forum alongside your role as founder. It's just fantastic news. So hi, everybody. I'm Brendan, one of the two managing directors here at Purple Space. By way of quick audio description, white male with short greying hair and glasses, wearing blue and white striped shirt, sat in a living room setting in my home just outside Alicante in Spain, where I'm based. And look, really excited to be sharing our plans for 2024 with you. So look, it's June, but the countdown starts now to December. So look, we have some big plans for Positively Purple 2024, which we'll share with you in just a second. And you will know that the Purple Space strategy is rooted in this premise that disability ERGs and networks are driving what we call the next phase of disability culture change in organizations around the world. And they're doing this by supporting their organizations to learn directly from the experiences of their own people with disabilities, and by building community and then by extension inner confidence amongst the community of people with disabilities. And that's why we do what we do. It's why we're on a mission to extend the reach and impact of the global disability ERG movement. And it's why we want to develop the leadership capacity and the profile of our community of network leaders. So, you know, I share that really to frame what I'm going to say next about what we plan to do this year for Positively Purple. So you'll see on the next slide, really in pursuit of those aims, is the best way to say it. And with the support of our friends at Novartis and at Tesco, this year, as part of the Positively Purple movement, we're focused on two key activities. So the first one here is around publishing new guidance, new case studies on how disability ERGs and networks can extend their reach and impact beyond what we're calling a HQ, headquarters setting. So work is already underway on this project, and we'll be sharing more at September's Strategic Forum, which is on the 17th of September. So it's not in your diary. Do make a note of that, because we would love to see you, particularly if this is a topic of interest. And you know, what I'll say around that project is that our aim is to support ERGs and networks and their organizations to be able to benefit from having an impactful ERG that is able to build community and learn from the experience of disabled colleagues who work in frontline roles. So we have, you know, a huge and diverse community of organizations in the Purple Space community. There are people who are working in warehouses, in supermarkets, in laboratories, in contact centers, in ambulances. Some of them are on offshore oil rigs. So we have it all here in the Purple Space community. So big piece of work about how we can make it easier for ERGs to extend their reach and impact to those colleagues. And then the second driver, the second activity, and the one that we're going to focus on for today's session, is coordinating global action around the 3rd of December and in the run-up to December 3rd, so that organizations ERG leaders and executive sponsors talk about the role and the impact of their disability ERGs in a more consistent and powerful way. So we're focusing on corporate websites and also professional profiles, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So before we dive into the discussion, just a word on why do we want to do this? And Kirsty, you can drop the slide down now, but why do we want to build the profile of our community of disability ERG leaders? Many of you will know that our view is that chairing a disability ERG or a network is a leadership position. And you may also know that not everybody sees it that way. And like, if you spend any time with me, you will have definitely heard me talk about this before, because I do occasionally meet disability ERG leaders who perhaps don't see themselves as leaders. You know, sometimes it's because it's a voluntary job. Sometimes it's a role that doesn't get much recognition, or it might be about where the ERG leader sits in terms of the seniority of their day job. Where are they on the org chart? It might be that they don't have all the skills that they need, or they don't have the resources, or perhaps because disability isn't, you know, a priority for the organization and its DEI strategy. So there are lots of reasons why ERG leaders might feel that it's not a leadership position, or not a big deal, but in our view, it is a big deal. It's a huge deal, and it is absolutely a leadership position. And again, in our opinion, is one of the most important leadership positions in any organization. When you think about it, you're representing the interests of up to 20% of the workforce, or perhaps providing insights into the increasing expectations and demands of up to 20% of the customer base as well. So that's why we're on a mission to position ERG leadership as a leadership position. And, you know, we want to do that in order to do a few things. So one is to enable our community to better articulate the purpose, the impact of networks. We want to make it easier for our leaders to access resources, and also to inspire the next generation of disability ERG leaders as well. So that's why we're here today, is to start this process of creating the standards by which our leaders can talk about their disability ERG leadership roles. So the process starts today. So the way we're going to structure this session is we want it to be interactive. Do chime in comments if you've got a comment, if you've got a question. So Sally is monitoring. I know Kate is in there as well, so we'll call that out. Sally and Kate have permission to interrupt, and we'll bring those comments in. I'm going to share a little bit of research that we've done into the way that some of you are currently talking about your ERG leadership roles on LinkedIn, and then we'll bring you in for a conversation. I've got bring a few of you into the room. So we have Ray from LinkedIn, and Russ is with us from Tesco, and Elaine and others are on the line as well. And we're going to do a few interactive Slido exercises as well to keep this interesting and interactive, but also to enable us to gather your views and your experiences as well. So without further ado, let's hear from you. So the next thing we're going to do is a short icebreaker by Slido. So you'll have on the screen here a QR code or a Slido.com reference code. So you can either scan the QR code, or you can jump onto Slido.com and enter the code. Once you've done that, you'll see a very short, simple question, which is just our way of checking very quickly the current status. So our question to you on there is, does your disability ERG or network, does it feature on any of the following? So on your organization's website, so is it profiled there? Does it appear in your own professional profile? Does your exec sponsor have it in their professional profile? Or perhaps it's none of the above, or perhaps you're not sure. So interesting, watching it move in front of our eyes. So we can see about 76% so far are saying that it appears on the organization's website. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Next behind that is your own professional profile. So it looks about half of you are talking about your disability ERG roles in your professional profile. So 52%, it looks like where we have settled. Less clarity on the exec sponsor, perhaps you don't know, but about 21%, which is still positive. And then only about 14% of you think that we're not talking about our ERGs in any of those platforms. So really interesting start. So thank you for engaging in that. We'll have another Slido activity later on in this session. So Sally, Kate, do chime in if you're seeing things in the chat, any interesting comments, if anyone's adding to it. Sally, is there anything?
Hey Bran, interesting point around it might be on the website, but can we find it and locate it easy enough? So if potentially new recruits are looking and trying to find that information, so interesting point in the chat as well. And of course, lots of weather and location conversations, but not relevant for the Positively Purple.
Of course. Well, look, one of the things we'll be doing as an action, as an output from today's session is we'll be publishing some suggested standards around how you talk about this in your own professional profiles, but also how your organizations can talk about it on the corporate website, because you're absolutely right. How you talk about it, the level of detail, but also where you position it are all relevant as well. So that's a great call. Okay, look, so thank you for that. There will be, as I say, more opportunities to engage via Slido during the course of the session. So keep hold of that link. We'll be changing the questions as we go. So our focus today is on the question of professional profiles. So as I've shared, our aim is to encourage disability ERG leaders to weave in references to professional profiles wherever they appear. So that might be LinkedIn, it might be in your bio, it might be in CVs, but there will be lots of places, and we'll explore that as well in the session. But today, for today's session, we're going to focus on LinkedIn. And we're going to focus on LinkedIn for a couple of reasons. So one is the sheer prevalence, and look, Ray, you'll correct me on the correct stats, but when I checked, it was 1 billion members across 200 or more than 200 countries. So you're nodding. So there's huge reach, and we are of the view that outside of the purple space community, it's probably the platform where the greatest number of disability ERG leaders are engaging and convening and connecting with each other. So that's why we're choosing to use it today. But we are looking to draw out lessons that can be applied to professional profiles wherever they appear. So I'm going to a quick overview of some research that we did. So we have been on LinkedIn. We've been looking at your profiles, people. We have been looking at your profiles, and we've seen some great examples of how the 52% or so of you that are using your profiles to talk about your networks. We've seen some great examples. So Kirsty's going to pop up a couple of slides, and just going to give a quick run through. So I won't go into too much detail, but I will give I will indicate what we've got on the screen here. So I'll give some examples, and then we'll open it up to conversation. So the way that we structured this, we kind of went down the LinkedIn profile as it appears on the screen. So we started with the headline. So the headline being that bit of writing, the first bit of writing you see under the photo and under the name of the person. So we've got examples on the screen here of Yvonne from PwC UK, we've got Elaine from Google, we have Ray from LinkedIn, and Russ from Tesco, all listing their ERG network leader role in the headline alongside the details of their day jobs. And I was interested, Russ, I noticed that you actually you're the only one here who puts the network role before the actual day job. So I'd love to hear from you, why you do that, whether that's deliberate. But I'll come to you in a minute. The next section that we looked at is the about section. So this is the part of the profile where you get to expand on who you are. You get to say what you do, why you do it, what motivates you. And on the next slide, we have some other examples. There's quite a bit of text here, and I won't read them in detail, but we have examples. We've got Russ here again. We've got Elaine from Google again, but we've also got Belinda, who is the ERG leader at Dentons in the US. Russ is keeping it simple reference to his disability network leadership role. Belinda, interestingly, is framing her ERG leadership role in the wider context of her other DEI-related activity. And then you've got Elaine here, who's choosing to expand a little bit about what the ERG does, what it's set up to do, and also some of the things that she has managed to support in terms of progress particularly around the global growth of the EMEA chapter of the Disability Alliance at Google. So interesting to see the different ways that you're using that section of your profile. The next section that we looked at was the experience and the volunteer experience section. So this is where you list the roles that you've had, your current role, and the organizations where you have done them or where you were doing them. So a couple of examples here. So we've got Ray again from LinkedIn. So Ray is talking about her ERG leadership role using the volunteer section, so the voluntary work section. And then we've got Jean, who is the one of the global co-chairs at MSD. And Jean's using the day job experience function here to list her leadership position with the capability EBRG. And then the last thing I'm going to reference here before I start to bring people in for a conversation is the actual post function. So this is probably the if you're on LinkedIn, it's perhaps what you most closely associate with LinkedIn. So this ability that users have to publish new and specific content on any topic, and so on any topic, so around work. And here we've got another example. Again, it's from Jean from MSD, and Jean is sharing the launch of a new chapter of the EBRG. So what I love about this post is not just the progress that Jean is highlighting here, but actually she's actually forwarding on a post that had come from MSD's corporate LinkedIn account as well. So Jean, do jump into the comments if we can. We'll bring you off mute as well, because we'd love to hear you're doing something right if your comms team are pushing this out through the main channel as well. So do share learnings and thoughts on that as well. So look, that's a whistle-stop tour of the research. So interesting, yeah, about half of you are using LinkedIn in some way to talk about your network leadership roles. So here's some examples about how the different ways that you're doing it. So what we want to do today is gather as many experiences and views so that we can start to build some suggested standards that we can publish with the ERG leadership community. So I would love to turn to a couple of folks who we had on in the example. So Ross, I'll come to you first, and then Ray, and then Sally. I'll come to you just to call out any activity in the chat as well. So do keep your comments coming, do keep your questions coming in the chat as well. So that Russ, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You are one of the leaders that, as I mentioned, you talk about this in your profile. It's one of the first things we learn about you when we visit your LinkedIn profile. But you're also from Tesco, who are one of our sponsors as well. So look, huge thank you from us at Purple Space. So I would love for you just to, a couple of minutes, just to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about why Tesco is supporting the Positively Purple movement again in 2024, and then why do you choose to so prominently display your network leadership role on LinkedIn, and any examples of the impact that you've experienced of doing that?
Thanks, Brenda. I'd love to do that, and it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Just a way of a visual introduction. So I was going to say I'm a tall, dark-haired white bloke in a blue shirt, and I've chosen to wear a green lanyard. When I say tall, we're all the same height on the telly, aren't we? So it doesn't make any difference. But that's me. I've been at Tesco for 20 years, but I've been the chair for the last couple of years, but I don't feel like we've been a partner for the last couple of years. I feel like we've been a partner for the last 6 years or so. We've been members of Purple Space for 6 years with the founder, Jason, who I think may be on the call today, watching, but he was the founder of the network at Tesco. And I've just taken the keys with that, and I just think we want to take it a stage further. But the reasons we're such big supporters are you differentiate, you innovate, and you give creative ideas that we followed to get to what's important to Tesco, which is a disability confident business. That's why we're proud and keen to be associated and partners with you. We've got some very specific challenges which you help us get through. You called some of them earlier, Brendan, but we've got 300,000 colleagues at the shop floor. And I always quote it: how do you reach the colleagues that are in the warehouse or filling the shelf in stores or working on checkouts? How do you reach them? And you've got to be creative with that. Our internal comms don't always cope with that, and some of our colleagues don't want to go into stores and hear about that. But what we've got is they get behind purple, the colour purple. So that was an innovation in its own right. They like to dress up on the 3rd of December and do something different in their shops and engage with their customers. We'd like to launch something exciting and new to our customers in a disability forum, and that backed up with all the good work you've done on structure and helping us with how we work with the exec and the key components of our setup with the disability networks has really helped us and benefited. So it wasn't a difficult decision. Sometimes it takes a long time to get to a decision, but it wasn't a difficult decision to invest and extend our partnership and become supporters of the work you're doing to move to Positively Purple. And from a personal point, I love the Positively Purple bit. So I think it is about being positive about your condition. I choose to wear a lanyard. Many colleagues do as well. And we're getting more and more confident in Tesco, but we're on a journey and we've got things to do. And we'd like to do that in partnership with you, with your direction. So that's what we've done that, Brendan. The other questions you asked me about were on LinkedIn in particular. And I didn't even know I was doing it, but it's on LinkedIn. It's the first thing I did when I was chair of disability. And from a personal point of view, that was because it's the biggest point of difference in my role today. So from a selfish point of view, it gave me something different, a network that I could relate to. And I'll give you some facts and figures on what that's given to me. And it's given me a platform to share ideas and learnings from in both my day job, which is a program manager, and in the disability network to make a difference. And that's what we're here for. So LinkedIn has given me that platform. From a Tesco point of view, though, you'll see it high up on their agenda. You ask some questions at the start. Is it on our website? Absolutely, it's on our website. We talk about it at the end of the financial year, and as we set our objectives with the city, it's fundamental. We have an exec sponsor, a brilliant exec sponsor called Adrian Morris, who's been fantastic in doing that role. And I get time with the exec every 3 months, and we've set ourselves up to really be listened to and heard. And I've got a bigger voice in this arena than we have in day job in some ways. So it's really important to me. It's really important to the business, and that's what we've reflected on LinkedIn. And you'll see that consistent. You'll see the co-founder with that in his job title as well, Brendan.
Russ, fantastic. Yeah, look, fantastic. So thank you for sharing in terms of motivation and the impact. And yeah, look, you as an individual, you really do embody the ethos of what we're trying to achieve in Positively Purple. I know Tesco, huge supporters as well. So thank you very much.
Brendan, you're doing a great job.
Ray, I would love to bring you in at this point. So look, it seems very fitting that we have an ERG leader from LinkedIn with us on the call. So Ray, look, it would be great if you could introduce yourself, and a couple of questions for you as well. So you have these two hats on, so global ERG leader, and you're an employee of LinkedIn as well. So I would love just a couple of things. I would love to hear any reflections on the examples that we have shown, but also, is there are we missing any tricks here? Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would expect to see of an ERG leader that did want to maximize the impact of their LinkedIn profile? And then the second question, just this invitation for ERG leaders to start to talk about their role in their professional profiles, LinkedIn and other places as well. But what is it that excites you about that invitation? What do you expect the impact to be?
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. I'm Ray from LinkedIn. So I am a Caucasian woman. I have brown hair. I'm wearing a polka dotted shirt today. And I have some Star Wars art in my background. If you want to know what I'm interested in, it's mostly Star Wars. So at LinkedIn, as Brendan said, I'm the global co-chair for our disability ERG. It's called Enable In. And then in my day job, I actually focus on LinkedIn's accessibility. So I'm one of those really lucky folks who kind of gets to focus on my passion, both in my ERG role and in my day job role. I ensure that our external products can be used by people with disabilities, and then also expanding internally to make sure that our own LinkedIn employees have an accessible experience when they come to work for us. I'm also a member of the disability community, so I have ADHD and bipolar 2 disorder as well. And so the examples I've seen are amazing. I am so excited to see people using LinkedIn in this way. I would say the number one thing that I am excited about is people including this ERG work in their headlines. And the reason for that is that it makes you so easily identifiable as an ERG leader. Even when you're commenting on someone's post, somebody can immediately see without even clicking on your profile that this is something that you're passionate about and something that they can engage and talk with you about. The other places that I would really recommend, so you saw on mine, I have mine in the volunteering section, but what I do is I actually mention it within my job description as well. So I kind of give a little preview. I'm like, here's what I did in this job. And then in addition to that, I focused on XYZ in my role as Global ERG co-chair, see more in my volunteering section. So then that kind of forces you through my profile to see a little bit more about me. And then you can really dive in that volunteering section to see what I did in each role, because I've had multiple roles within our ERG. Another really great place to include this is in your skills. You guys develop so many skills as an ERG leader. You should show those off. Like, think about things like influencing without authority, comms. Maybe you're an engineer, but man, you've had to really pull together some good comms for your ERG. You should be including that. And when you actually input those skills, many people don't know this, but you can tie the skills to a role. So like for me, I have employee resource group as a literal skill on my profile. And then I've tied that to those roles in my volunteering experience. So if you look at my profile, you see that I have this ERG experience, and here's what it's tied to. You can do that for every single skill you have in the ERG. And then it also allows you, there's like a little checkbox that you can check that says that you want to follow more about this skill. So like when I think about the ways that you guys can kind of like customize your algorithm on LinkedIn so that you kind of get more insight into this ERG space and make more connections, that's a great way to do so, is following those types of skills. And then the other great thing to do is just connecting with other ERG leaders. So the more that you connect with people in this space, the more you're going to see that content on your feed and content about ERGs, and the more useful LinkedIn will become for you. And so that is really what excites me, Brendan. Like when we think about like what is going to happen when we all start including this information on our profiles and when we start posting more about it, it is that we are going to build this momentum where we are all going to be able to share best practices, where we're going to be able to connect with each other. I mean, that's a great thing about Purple Space too, right? Is like I've met so many fellow ERG leaders that if I'm like, oh, I'm considering doing this kind of initiative with the ERG, it's super easy for me to just reach out. And if I could leave you guys with maybe just like one more piece of advice, again, just thinking about how do you kind of customize that LinkedIn algorithm so that you are seeing the content about ERGs, about disability that you're interested in. We have something at LinkedIn called the Top Voices in Disability Advocacy list, which is a list of some of our top creators who specifically focus on disability. And what I have found is that if you go through and you start following those folks, in addition to all of the different ERG leaders, you're going to see a lot more of these conversations about disability. You're going to engage more. You're going to make more connections. And again, if you have that ERG title in your headline, when you're engaging in those conversations on LinkedIn, it's just a great way for people to identify you and then to connect with you and continue that momentum.
Right, fantastic. On that list of interest, is there an actual list that is available that perhaps we could share?
There absolutely is. I'm about to pop it right into the chat for everyone.
Awesome. And look, yeah, I love that point. I don't think we had considered it, but around linking or highlighting or showcasing the skills that our ERG leaders either bring to the job or have developed as a result of doing the job. So I think that's a really interesting point. Yeah, I want to explore. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you, Russ. Stick around, join in the next activity and chime in the chat as well. But thank you both. Sally, you have been monitoring the chat.
Yeah, lots of great chat going on. Yeah, lots of great chat going on. And the reasons why people are posting around their ERG role within LinkedIn and socials and on CVs to really demonstrate the passion for the people that they serve, to demonstrate capable of not just the day job, but additional skills, additional roles and transferable skills. And equally, EDI leaders leaning into how they can help ERG leaders to share more on LinkedIn and to really amplify that message as well. Love the LinkedIn training. People would like more, Ray. So whether we can put that on our ask list as well. And really to demonstrate that an ERG is not very different to any other leadership role. And I think sometimes we underestimate that as well. But really great chat going on. And there's been 11 messages while I'm talking. So I'm sorry if I missed any of them while we're talking now, Bran.
Sally, we'll come back to you. Keep monitoring and we will definitely come back to you.
And if I could just chime in really quickly, Brendan. So I'm happy to write down those tips. I'll share with you and then you guys can share with the broader team if you'd like. And just one last thing that I just remembered, the other thing you can do on your profile is actually spotlight some of your work. So if you have a post about the ERG that you want to spotlight, a long form article, or even media, that's another great way to actually showcase some of the work that you've done. Sorry, I have so many tips and tricks. I just wanted to add that last one.
Keep them coming, Ray, and look, we will definitely we will take you up on that offer. So
Wonderful.
if you are going to create those tips and tricks, then we can weave that into the member support pack that we'll be publishing after this call. So thank you. We'll be in touch on that. Okay. So look, that brings us to the next Slido activity. So what we want to do now, we've got a couple of questions, and we'll take the 2 questions in turn. But what we want to do now is, as a collective, we want to just start to gather some insights from all of you on a couple of key questions. You know, our objective is to build some suggested standards around how ERG leaders can start to weave these references in. So we've got 2 questions. The first question is, where else can you reference your ERG or network leadership role? So we talked about LinkedIn. That's definitely one of the places, but there will be other places. So, you know, is it CVs, speaker bios? You'll have your own ideas. So we want to source your ideas, because we want to make this as broad and as impactful as possible. And then the second question is about the type of information you might share about your leadership role with the ERG, but we'll come to that one in just a moment. So we're going to do this. We're going to use the word cloud format. So when you go on to Slido now, so using the link, the QR code or the code we gave you, you can start to use the word cloud function. So give us your ideas about what else might constitute a place where you can talk about this. And we're using the language of professional profiles. So LinkedIn, is it CVs? Is it an email signature? Give us your ideas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us 60 seconds of just quiet time. So I'm going to stop speaking, and then we'll come back and we'll start to look at some of the findings. But I'm going to go quiet for a minute. Okay, great to see some things coming through. I'm going to give it another few seconds, and then we'll have a look, see what people are suggesting. Okay, look, I can see this is still moving, still taking shape, which is great. So keep your ideas coming. Use the Slido if you want to add things in the chat. But look, we're getting emails, a lot of love for email signature. CVs is coming up. We've got speaker bios. We've got external forums, newsletters, of course, LinkedIn, internal leadership bios, professional bodies. Yeah, those of you that are part of professional bodies, we might be talking about your professional day job skills. Is there an opportunity? Is there a gap? Are you talking about your disability ERG leadership role in there? Digital business cards, CV resumes, slides packs, voicemail recording. Fantastic. Okay, look, we have some great ideas. This is fantastic, because again, what we want to do is build some suggestions of all of the places that you might choose to reference these roles. So this is fantastic. We're expanding our list. Fantastic. So look, keep your comments coming. The next question that we're going to look at as a group here is, we want to start to think about some of the actual information that you might share. So we have identified some of the places where you might speak about your ERG leadership role, but we want to now start to talk about what are some of the pieces of information that you might share. Now, of course, what you share or the type of information you share will be in some ways dependent on where you're sharing. So if it's in an email signature, to give an example, then you might not be going deep into your disability strategy and the global growth. But for this exercise, let's keep it broad. Let's not worry too much about the format. I would love to have a conversation here about like what are all of the types of information that you might share about your network or your ERG? So you know, from the really simple and seemingly obvious to the name of your ERG, to the weird and the wonderful. Like, we want examples of impact or messages of support, so keep them coming. Again, I'm going to give it 30 seconds. I'll just go quiet, just give people a chance to reflect. Fantastic. It's still moving. Feel free, if you're putting things in here, if you want to expand on anything that you have shared here, feel free to use the chat to expand on anything that isn't perhaps immediately self-explanatory. But I'll call out some of the examples. So we're seeing achievements, purpose and impact, events, why it's important, what we've achieved, what the role involves, the scope in terms of geography, outcomes, visual identity, videos, the name, values, word of the month. Interested, whoever put that in, if you want to give us an explanation in the chat, we'd love to hear that. Oh, sorry, word of mouth. No, that makes more sense. Pillars, upcoming events, personal story, of course, storytelling coming up a couple of times, skills gained as well, what you've managed, what you've achieved, related research. Really interesting. These are neat examples. And again, you know, as we suck this up and we feed it into these suggested standards, of course, what you share and where will be linked. So we'll make some sensible suggestions about where you might choose to go into detail on these things. Fantastic. Okay. Great. Well, look, Kirsty, let's take that down. And I'm conscious, gosh, we're coming up to nearly 10 to the hour. So what I would like to do for the remainder of the time, so we have Elaine on the line. So Elaine from Google, another one of our ERG leaders that we shared an example for. So we'll bring Elaine in. Elaine, come to you just a moment, and then Sally will come to you for a recap on what's going on in the chat, and I'll hand over to Kate to close us out. So Elaine, welcome.
Hi, Brendan. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Carroll. I'm from Google. Just for everyone's description, I'm a white woman with long dark hair, which is currently held back in a ponytail, and blue eyes, and wearing a black top.
Thank you, Elaine. Look, would love to hear. So you've been listening, participating, watching. So would love to get your views. What are you hearing? And then, yeah, a couple of specific questions. Why, as one of the ERG leaders, the 52% who are doing this, why do you choose to talk about your ERG role so prominently? And then, yeah, I suppose as you think about the opportunity again, so again, what excites you the most about this invitation for network leaders to talk about their role in a more consistent and powerful way?
Very much the question of the hour, why, isn't it? For me, I think the why is very, very simple. As much as I love my day job, and I do, it just doesn't really compare to the 20% role I have as an ERG lead. This is where I truly feel like I have an impact. This is where my passion, it's where I take the most joy from in my work. And if I have to say, like, you know, why I kind of get out of bed and go to work in the morning, it is because I get to do the ERG work. It's getting to know I'm helping people. You know, when we run an event and someone emails me afterwards to say, you know, thank you. I now feel like I have a community to go to. I'm not alone. I'm part of something. Or I now feel like I can go and speak to my manager about getting accommodations or my disability or my neurodiversity. There's just nothing that compares to that. That makes everything, no matter how stressful it can be at times, because it really can be stressful at times, like managing these two worlds, that just makes it all worthwhile. And there's just no way I wouldn't want to put that out there on my LinkedIn. because it is such a privilege to be able to do this work, and I want to share that with everyone basically, and really hopefully encourage other people to share it, because it is a privilege, it is a challenge, but it's also something that I feel very proud to have achieved, because the skills that I have taken from this, skills I've learned, the compassion and empathy I've learned, it's something I'm quite proud of to actually have achieved. So, you know, I also think, yeah, I've done this. I also want to have this front and center on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, really powerful, Elaine. And just, yeah, closing thought on, you know, what excites you about this invitation from Purple Space to the wider community to start doing what you have done and talk about your role in this way?
Because I think it's so important. You know, one of the reasons I do this work is also we need to normalize the conversation around disability. We're all doing such amazing work, but if we're doing it in the shadows, we're not helping support that conversation. If we're having it out there on our LinkedIn, we're taking that step forward. We're saying this is too important to be in the shadows. This is too important for us not to be speaking about it. We're putting it out there. We're putting it front and center and saying this is part of everyday life. Therefore, it should be front and center. I am disabled. I am neurodivergent. That is part of who I am. So why would I hide that? It should be front and center on my LinkedIn profile. For example, if anyone ever wanted to give me a job, they need to know that about me. It's part of my skill set, for example. You know, there's a lot of things that being disabled and being neurodivergent has given me as a skill, you know, that I couldn't work in any other way around, because I am disabled and I am neurodivergent. So they need to know that up front about me as well. You know, not just the fact that I'm an EIG leader, but the fact that I'm also come with as a neurodivergent person and as a disabled person. So put it up there in front and center, make that part of everyday normal conversation, because it is everyday and normal.
Fantastic, Elaine. Oh, look, really powerful, and flurry of hearts and claps appearing on my screen as you're talking. That's a really powerful way to start to bring us to a close, Elaine. So thank you. Sally, going to come to you next. A couple of minutes in terms of what you're seeing in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Bren, and thank you, Elaine, for sharing that. Lots of love and comments in the chat as well for you to have a read of. Some other shares around how we can demonstrate our roles. In one organisation, they had ID badges made, so lanyards specifically from an ERG perspective. I'm loving that some people are changing their profile in real time on LinkedIn, so they've already updated as they've been having these conversations as well. And equally, someone pointing out that actually by demonstrating these things on LinkedIn or within your organisation, it can really be a career accelerator, because you're demonstrating these skills, these leadership skills, and they're very transferable. So really great comments, and they keep coming in as well. And someone's also highlighted one of the skills to choose on LinkedIn is dyslexic thinking, Bren, which I know you've got on your profile as well. So yes, it's skills. Really great conversations.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I do, and I think ERG leader is one of those skills as well that you can choose on that profile. Well, look, wow. Great conversation. Look, so thank you for your participation, the sharing of ideas. We will weave those into the resource that we put out as a result of this conversation. Ray, we will also weave in your offer of some technical guidance as well. So look, huge thank you to everybody. Kate, I'm going to bring you back in to close us out with some final reflections, but also some information on next steps.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Really enjoyed the session, and hearing and seeing you all engage in live time is wonderful. As Sally said, we've had a number of people in real time who have gone onto LinkedIn and changed their profile. How marvelous is that? Wonderful. So look, some thank yous. Firstly, to all of our speakers. So to Steffi and Russ, and again for your very generous sponsorship of this movement, and to Ray and to Elaine for your passion and your energy, your deep, everlasting commitment. It just comes through in abundance. So we thank you for engaging with today's forum. Secondly, a thank you to our members. You know, we can see you getting your engines running as we approach. Look, here we are in June, and we're already thinking about the simple things that we can do, seemingly simple things that we can do, which will have a long-lasting impact in how we, I suppose, break down the loneliness of being an ERG leader. So yeah, it's wonderful stuff. So thank you for engaging with that. The team, as Brenda says, are going to follow up with a member support pack, which will include our suggested standards and ideas and criterion under which you can communicate your role as an ERG leader, and a bit about your network on your websites, LinkedIn accounts, professional profiles, and so on and so forth. We will grab Ray's offer to help us to support you by signposting you to the right advice. And, you know, just maybe we'll be able to do some other things around the edges. Steffi, I see you two are leaning in there. So we'll go away and as a team, we'll have a chat about that. Make sure you register for the next strategic forum. So that's going to be held on the 17th of September. And we're going to be focusing on the guidance and the case studies as to how ERG leaders can extend their reach and impact beyond the headquarters, central office, as they're sometimes known. So for those of you on oil rigs or in shops and retailers, Russ, I'm thinking of your good self. So those individuals who do proper jobs out there. So we'll be really supporting you to think through how you can engage all of your people, not just those directly impacted by disability and neurodivergence, but those very natural purple allies in our midst. So that'll be very exciting. In terms of the Global Summit, that's coming down the track, so make sure you're registered 15th of October. Make sure it's in your diary, coming around fast. The team can give you more information if you would like that. And I suppose my closing thoughts, well, many, I suppose, you know, being out and loud and proud about your leadership role, you know, both within your organization and externally, I think will have, I see it time and again, have such a powerful impact, not just individually within your business, but also externally. But also I'd encourage you to think about the subliminal messages that individuals who may be struggling to identify with the experience of disability or neurodivergence. So think about those very powerful but subliminal messages you will offer up if we choose consistently to identify ourselves as ERG leaders. I think it's incredibly powerful. We all know, and we hear it in abundance, how hard it is for us as individuals to incorporate the experience, the human experience, the everyday experience of disability and neurodivergence into our brands as individuals. So just think of how much more easier it will be to help those that come behind us if we choose to be out and loud and proud as a community of ERG leaders, as you so wonderfully are. And just thinking about the reach, 1.5 million employees with disability is our conservative estimate of working with 5,000 leaders across 175 brands. So phenomenal stuff. So yes, as ever, Brendan, I get overexcited. I can't help it. It's who I am. Last thanks to the wonderful team, Brendan, to your good self, to Sally, to Kirsty and Nick. I don't think I've forgotten anything. However, I may. Brendan, anything else that we need to be mentioning?
No, I think we're all good, Kate. That's a wonderful close. We will be in touch with the resources that we have promised. So thank you all for your leadership and for being here with us today, and 17th of September. It's the next one.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bren. We'll see you there. Take good care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.